So, when you picture colonial America, what comes to mind? Probably powdered wigs, maybe the signing of the Declaration of Independence. But that's kind of the highlight reel, right? In this explainer, we're going to peel all of that back to see what life was really like day in and day out in the 1700s. Okay, let's do a little thought experiment. Just imagine it. You open your eyes and boom, you're back 300 years. What's the very first thing that hits your senses? Is it what you see? What you hear? Just take a second and think about it. Yeah, it's probably not what you're thinking. The first, most overwhelming thing you'd notice is the smell. The air is just thick with the constant, hazy scent of wood smoke coming from every single chimney. And that's mixed with something a lot more, well, earthy. The smell of farm animals nearby and of a world that has pretty much no modern sanitation at all. All right, so that initial shock, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's dig into what those first few moments of being awake would actually feel like, starting right there in the bedroom. The difference between then and now, honestly, it's total. We live in a world of comfort. They lived in a world of harsh reality. You think you're on a soft mattress? Nope. You're sinking into the sagging rope bed, and it's stuffed with lumpy, itchy straw. Central heating? Forget it. You've got maybe a few leftover embers from yesterday's fire. And glass windows? That was a luxury for only the wealthiest people. So your day starts with just immediate discomfort. The air is so cold, you can literally see your breath. Your back already hurts. And those clothes? Yeah, about that. Most people had one, maybe two outfits. Total. You'd be wearing the same rough, scratchy wool thing for days. You even slept in it. It smelled like smoke and sweat, but hey, so did everyone else. So you probably wouldn't even notice. After a morning like that, you'd think you'd get a nice, hearty breakfast, right? Well, that brings us to the central theme of colonial life. Survival was an all-day job. Every single calorie had to be earned the hard way. And this was the fuel. It's called mush. And yeah, it was pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Cornmeal just boiled with water. If you were really lucky, you might get a splash of milk or a tiny bit of molasses. This wasn't about enjoying your food. It was pure, simple fuel to power a human machine through a day of absolutely relentless labor. For the women in the household, the work was this endless cycle that started way before the sun came up. First thing, revive the fire from last night's embers, and that was a huge deal because remember, no matches. Then hauling every single drop of water you'd need for the day, bucket by heavy bucket. Cooking was a seriously dangerous job, over an open flame. And when that was all done, you'd spend hours, and I mean hours, spinning wool into thread and then sewing every single piece of clothing for the whole family, by hand. And for the men, it was just a constant, brutal battle with the land. You weren't plowing nice, neat fields. You were trying to navigate around these massive tree stumps that were just too hard to pull out. You were clearing an endless supply of rocks from the fields by hand, and every single step of farming, from planting to weeding to harvesting with a heavy scythe, was just grueling, back-breaking work from sunup to sundown. But maybe the biggest shock for any of us, it wouldn't even be the work. It would be the filth, the world they lived in. It's honestly hard to overstate how completely and totally absent our idea of basic hygiene was. I mean, this really gets to the heart of it. People actually avoided bathing. Doctors at the time thought that getting wet could let sickness into your body, and that a layer of dirt and grime on your skin was actually a good thing, like a protective barrier. On top of that, some preachers taught that paying too much attention to your body was a sin of vanity. And this closeness with, well, filth, it was literally built into the walls of their homes. A really common building material was something called wattle and daub. You'd weave these sticks together and then you'd plaster it all with this interesting mix of mud, straw, and, yep, animal dung. It actually worked great, but it meant you were literally living inside walls held together by manure. And the consequences of this were just everywhere. Chamber pots dumped right out the window into the street. Outhouses were often dug way too close to drinking wells, which led to constant diseases like dysentery and typhoid. And lice weren't something to be ashamed of. They were just a fact of life for literally everyone all the way up to George Washington. The soap they made was so harsh it was really only good for laundry, not for your skin. And all of that filth, combined with a total lack of real medical knowledge, it had an absolutely devastating cost. In a lot of places, up to half of all children never made it to adulthood. Just think about that. 50%. It's a staggering reality that just shaped everything about family life. So you have to wonder, faced with all this hardship, this constant danger, how did anyone even survive? Well, the answer wasn't about being some tough individual. It was all about the power of the community. And this is so important to get. Survival was not an individual sport. It was a team effort through and through. In a world with zero safety nets, your neighbors were your insurance policy. Being alone, that was basically a death sentence. To make it, you had to rely on each other, period. And they actually had these amazing formal ways of cooperating. A barn raising wasn't just a neighbor helping out. It was this massive community party where everyone showed up to build an entire barn in a single day for one family. They turned these boring, tedious jobs like husking corn into social events they called bees. This wasn't just about being nice. This was the essential machinery of survival. And this is where the story gets really incredible, because this life of constant struggle, of self-reliance and intense community cooperation, it didn't just help them survive. It actually forged a completely new kind of person, a person who would, pretty soon, be ready for a revolution. So when Britain started to impose new taxes and flex its muscles in the mid-1700s, they weren't dealing with a population that was used to being cared for or told what to do. No, they were dealing with people who had literally carved a life out of the wilderness with their own two hands. And you can draw a straight line from their daily hardships to their revolutionary spirit. That constant grinding work, that created an unbelievable work ethic. The daily danger and isolation, that bred this deep, powerful self-reliance. Working together to survive, that created these incredibly strong community bonds. And just being so far from Britain gave them space to become something new, American. So in a very real way, the colonists were kind of unknowingly training for revolution every single day of their lives. The toughness, the ingenuity, that deep-seated belief that they could handle things themselves, those were the exact skills you need to challenge an empire and try to build something new. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. If their entire character was forged in the fire of this daily struggle, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our world, with all its comforts and conveniences, what is it that forges our character today?